Okay, it's 2 p.m. Eastern time. We're gonna kick the webinar off today. So excited to have everyone here. For those of you in the Eastern and Central time zones, good afternoon. For those of you on the Western time zone, good morning. We're so excited to have you here today. This is the final webinar that we have in our fall webinar series. My name is Jessica DeGraff, and I have the very unique pleasure of working with a super talented team of women to support independent garden centers. And so today I just wanted to point out a few of those folks that are here to help you and here to help your businesses. We've got a great team. I also have with me today Kate Spurgeon. Many of you know Kate. She has played a very active role in supporting garden centers. She now works for Proven Winners and is just a huge part of our team. Kate's going to be here today. She's going to be managing our chat and our Q&A. So if you have questions, if you have comments, she's here in the background to support us as we go through the webinar today. But my name is Jessica DeGraff, for those of you that don't know me. And what we're really here today to do is to help you really look at how do you work on your business instead of in your business, right? It's November, believe it or not, of 2023. I know many of you are in the planning session or planning stages of really looking at how are you crafting your programs and your support tools for 2024. And that's why we have this webinar series. And that's why I'm so excited to have John Kennedy with us here today. Before we get started, though, just a couple quick housekeeping items. As you guys all know, after 4 years of Zoom, we're in listen-only mode, right? But that being said, we absolutely want your interaction. We want you to ask questions. We want you to be able to chat with the Proven Winners team, also with one another. So make sure that you use that chat function just for simple conversations back and forth. If you have questions, please use the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. If you also have a question, feel free to just use that raise your hand icon, and Kate will be fielding those questions as we go through. John is very open to answering questions throughout the presentation, but also at the tail end, we'll have a quick Q&A session at the end of the webinar today. One big question that we always get, and I want to clarify, is that yes, the webinar is recorded. So if you want to go back and see John 15 times, you can. If you want to share that with your team members, you're welcome to do that. And not only John's webinar, but every webinar that we do in our fall webinar series is recorded. So we love having you watch those and share those with your team. So without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker today, John Kennedy. Many of you know John from various industry events that you've attended. He's going to be talking about, it's not selling, it's actually creating an opportunity to buy. So really looking at, as we're interacting with our customers, right, it's not just about that sale, it's really creating the opportunity. And he's going to share a lot of different tips and tricks as we think about that, things that I think would be really pertinent to your sales teams. But a bit about John, if you don't know him, John has owned a consulting business for a number of years. He's done a lot of work in our industry, also in several other industries, from hospitality to work with the Baltimore Ravens to several other organizations. But he and his wife, Suni, also own a company called Boomerangel, and they are really working very diligently to create tools and operating systems to support independent garden centers. And I know John will talk a little bit more about that. But John, I'm sorry, I had to talk about your better half for just a quick second. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you and let you take over today.
My pleasure. You cannot share screen while the participant is sharing, so I'm going to go ahead. Okay. And then I'm able to share screen now. Can you see my screen now?
I cannot.
Okay, I'm going to go share
hold on.
screen.
Let's try this now, John.
Oh, all good. Now we got it. We're there now?
Perfect.
Got it. Just a small little quick handoff. And is it full? Yeah, we go full screen. So, you don't never have to apologize for introducing my better half. She deserves every credit that the opportunity affords it. And so a large part of what we're doing. But I'm grateful, as always, to still be relevant to the degree where I've been asked to present on topics that are germane to the independent garden center retailer. However, some of those retailers are retailer growers. So there's elements of what we'll be learning today that could be appropriate to the grower side. And also some of them are retailer landscape growers too. So I want you to think that it's solely retail, but it is mostly that way. But there can be applications to what we're talking about to the landscape side as well. And I'll give germane examples of that as we move forward. So setting the table. These days now, I think that customers feel that the most valuable thing that they have overall, granted kids and pets and things, is their time. is their time. And so these days, they're more selective about where they're going to invest their time. And so when they find themselves having a little bit of time to spend is disposable time and income, where do they want to spend it? 3.5 now, almost 4 years ago in March, COVID began 4 years ago. And during that time, there weren't any other choices. Pretty much there was the Independent Garden Center and a couple other places that were deemed relevant and essential, and that's where customers went. So we found new customers that came by, and their disposable income and time was afforded mostly for us. We had a great run. But now that is settling back, and they have time and money to go spend elsewhere, movies and baseball and all the other things that they do, travel and whatnot, I think it's more important than ever to reinvest in ensuring that if they are investing their time when it comes to us, are we giving them the best experience possible? And the experience piece is when we're helping them solve their particular problems relating to indoor and or outdoor plants and their challenges that they have and their wants of being able to be surrounded by joy, health, green, all of those things that our industry brings to them. So they find their way to our garden centers. And they're driving there. A lot of you are destination garden centers, so they have to take a little time to get there. So their time is a pretty big investment. But prior to getting to you, they've already researched you. And there are a lot of touches that currently happen before they even arrive at your doorstep. They're going to Google to see what your Google reviews are. They're going to Google to see what your Google rating score is out of 5. They're going to your website to see what does the website look like. And is that a website that reflects your business so that it makes me want to invest my time to drive there? So although we're talking about to some degree selling and buying and that whole experience, the experience now broadens itself even more into the palm of their hand or on your website. And then at that point, they might even call you to say, hey, do you carry this particular type of proven winners? I saw something on a billboard when I was driving through Selma, North Carolina, or I saw something in a Facebook or social media post, and I was interested to see if you carry it. So all of these are happening before they even step foot in your garden center. But once they've invested their time, once that they've made a commitment, once that they've now driven to your garden center, that first experience that they see sets the stage. What's the parking lot look like? Is it full of cars or they're empty cars? You make judgments based on that. Is it dirty and disorganized, or is it nice and clean and welcoming? And then they walk into your garden center, and that first experience right there is the one that sets the entire stage for their want to buy from you. And if that first feeling after they've made the commitment and the time to drive to the destination, to get out of the car, to walk in and be there, if it's not greeted in a way that's welcoming and warm, it can affect, absolutely, their decision to buy. It may also affect their decision to come back. And it may also affect their decision to tell other people to come or not come to your particular retail garden center. So when we look at this holistically, selling, service, experience, all of that happens oftentimes before they even set foot in your garden center. So as many of you have had a chance to see when I'm working in the industry, I always talk about the importance of the attitude of the staff. How do they feel when they show up to work each day? Do they have a good attitude that would then be passed along to the customer? Do I feel good about the place that I work? So that whole culture, values, the way that they feel, all of those play into the importance of the sales experience. So this old adage that I share often is that the longer I live, the more I realize the impact of attitude on my life. Attitude to me is more important than the past, and education, money, circumstances, failures, successes, than what other people think or say or even do. It's more important than appearance or giftedness or skill. It'll make or break a company, a church, a home. The remarkable thing is that we have a choice every day regarding our attitude for that day. I can't change what happened yesterday. I can't change the fact that people act in a certain way. I can't change the inevitable. Stuff happens. But the one thing I can do is change my attitude. I have control over that. And so life is a decision based on you. Life is 10% what happens to me, and then it's 90% how I react to it. And so it is with you. We are in charge of our attitude. So I'm a big fan of the morning huddle in the morning. And the morning huddle should be gathering the team together to talk about what are we doing for the day. We have huddle sheets that you could follow. What is a core value that we want to celebrate today? I'm here in Twin Falls, Idaho. And when I checked in last evening, Jasmine, beautiful, wonderful experience. Front desk walked me through everything. Welcome. How far have you traveled? Have you been here before? Thank you for your loyalty. There was this whole really great experience. The hotel is an off-brand, one that you might not know enough about yet, called My Place. And it's more of an extended stay. And it's not the top Hyatt or Hilton or whatnot. But I'll tell you what, Jasmine made me feel that way. I actually feel as if I'm in a top-notch hotel because of the way that that first interaction occurred. So she talked about the plan. She talked about breakfast in the morning. She talked about the elevators. I was pretty impressed by that. So that first experience is so important when they walk through those front doors. And a huddle each morning would be a great way to start the day to talk about your core values. Town and Country Gardens out there in Idaho Falls. We just visited with them yesterday and created a whole core set of values. One is connection. Are we connecting with the customer? One is teamwork. What are we doing to resonate our teamwork? One is knowledge. Are we knowledgeable about what we're supposed to know about the plant material that we carry so we can educate the customer so that they can buy from us? We're not selling. We're educating them to be able to buy what's right for them. So a few days prior in Boise, we created some core values for Far West Garden Center landscaping as well. And the point being is that in a huddle in the morning, we should address what's the core value of the day? What are the plant materials that we want to be knowledgeable about? So there's a little product knowledge. Something I refer to as MOLO, which is more of, less of. What do we need to be doing more of today? What do we need to be doing less of today? MOLO. And our good friends at Louisiana Nursery, they have what movie came out this day in what year. So they make it fun as well. And by these activities, 5 minutes, that's it. 5 minutes on a daily huddle can create the attitude that everyone needs to be able to greet the customer, which is the reason why we're here, right? So the customer experience is why we're here. The customer service, the customer experience, the customer is why we're here. But there's this old adage that the customer is always right. And I don't quite agree with that the customer is always right. In fact, sometimes customers lie. They won't tell you the truth. Customers say, I called earlier and I talked to somebody and they said that you guys carried this. And you're quietly thinking, you called me. I told you that we didn't carry this. So I'm not sure how to manage that particular interaction. But the fact is the customer is not always right, but has the right to be the customer. They have the right to be able to be bothered, frustrated, or not knowledgeable, or maybe asking the wrong questions because they don't know what the right questions are. And I'm fascinated sometimes when employees of a busy retail independent garden center might look at the customer as an interruption. That I'm trying to do the activities of the day in a busy retail garden center. I got all these things to do and these tasks to do, and I got to clean this and water that and move that and shake that and trim that and prune that and whatnot that. So the customer comes up to ask a question, and we give them the impression or the feeling as if they are an interruption. And I would never want to buy from a place that makes me feel like I'm interrupting them. So we want to make sure that our attitude is open and that our attitude is one of gratitude, meaning that I'm grateful that the customers are coming by because when they buy from us, I get paid as an employee. Your owner of your garden center does not pay you. The customers that walk into your garden center, they pay you. And here's the challenge. It's got to be all of us that are on board with this. Setting the table for the culture of service, experience, and sales is a team effort. It's got to be everybody. Everybody has a play in it. Because if there's one person that's not on board, and that's the person that greets the customer at the beginning of that experience, the experience then is negative all the way through. We call that confirmation bias. That if I feel that I wasn't approached or treated nicely or as if I was an interruption, I'm probably going to assume that that's the case all the way around the garden center. So I'm not going to be so susceptible to buy. So let's make sure that we have an entire team effort that is in alignment to understand that the customer is the one that pays the bills. Here's the challenge. The challenge is that oftentimes you, in this word, me, might not like people. I find in many garden centers that I work with, when I ask, what do you like most about working in the organization? I love the plants. I love the people I work with. What's the biggest challenge that you find working in a garden center? The customer. And when I'm like, wow, if the customer is your biggest challenge, you may not be in the right position on the bus to be able to provide exceptional customer experience and sales. Your industry by nature invites a bunch of folks that are very much plant people, solitude, quiet, reserved. In some way, they are not extroverts, but introverts to some degree. And if I could just work with plants, if I could just talk to the plants, if I could just, be a plant person, then I would be happier. And my answer is, then that's what growers are for. You can go work with the grower who grows plants, and then you could do that. But if we are in a retail independent garden center and we sell plants, there would be wisdom that we balance both the importance of knowledge about plants and an experience that the people, our customers, are getting from us. So it has to be everybody. It's got to be everybody. It's got to be you and how you embrace your day to begin with and the attitude that you have. And then it's got to be an us factor. So teamwork, communication, our core values, huddles in the morning, setting the stage each day to get everybody geared towards dealing with the customer is vitally important. And then marketing does their job to market them to come here. And then at that point, the growers, if you have a grower retailer, they're making the plants look beautiful. If you're buying them from some of the great vendors that support the Proven Winners brand, they're doing their part to make sure that they're sending you beautiful plant material on time and perfect and looking great. So everybody in the industry is doing their part to get that plant into your garden center, to have that customer come and buy from you. And so we want to make sure that we're all focused on that, the experience. And a better experience typically means higher purchases. People are apt to come back more often. And that's really the thrust of a successful garden center is people coming to buying a little bit more and buying a little more often. 2024 might soften a bit. 2024 might have in front of us a bit of an economic downturn. Not a deep one, not a long one. Charlie Hall's been talking about it for a bit, but I believe it's going to happen in 2024. It's going to be a little bit of a give back. It's probably already starting. I think a couple of you, if you were in the landscape world, are starting to see the bids that you're putting out are not the Cadillac bids. They're maybe looking for a smaller one. They're pulling back on their income. They're pulling back on their expenses. They're pulling back on what they're spending is in a wants-based spending, which we are in a wants-based industries. So I think we're already seeing the signs of that. A garden center that I visit a few times a year, they had their annual opening. They kick off the season in the new year, in the Christmas season. It's in November. It's a big deal, and they were down about 20 to 25% over where they were last year. So it's already starting. We're going to probably keep an eye on next Friday, Black Friday. We're going to keep a bigger eye on Cyber Monday to see how Cyber Monday goes. And it may end up being that it's going to be a softening. So we're going to find in 2024, we may have to look and work a little harder at ensuring that we take every advantage of every opportunity to be able to convert that interest that the customer has to a purchase. But it's got to be everybody. The cashiers are just as important. The folks that load the vehicles are just as important. The folks in the back in the greenhouse, in the nursery, as just as important as the person that's front-facing in relationship to the customer. Now, where do our customers go? Why would they start to contract from us? Well, naturally, some folks die. That's one. Some folks move away. You can't really impact that one. Naturally float, which means that there's 2 or 3 garden centers in the valley. I might go visit a couple of them and maybe even a big box store. So they're not really addicted or dedicated or anchored or rooted to you. So they float around and maybe spend their money in a couple different places. And our thought is, how can we have them come back one more time? How do we have them so that they don't go to that place, but come to our place instead one more time? That would be a worthy goal in relationship to the work that you're doing. 5% go somewhere else because a friend said you should try this garden center instead of that one. This is where I shop, and this is how they treat me, and this is really great, and I'm involved in their little loyalty program, and I get things every once in a while, and the staff is awesome, the place looks great. All of those reasons why folks go to a garden center oftentimes may also be a reason why they're advised to have folks that buy from you to go somewhere else. So 5% change on a friend's recommendation. 9% buy cheaper elsewhere. It's not about price. We all get all worked up over the fact that maybe the big box stores are competing with us and it's difficult because they've got lower prices. It's not about price. It's about experience. It's always been about experience. 10%, no matter what you do, you're going to probably bother them. So don't get too worked up over those folks. But 68% of customers who leave because what they expected, what they saw, what they read in the Google reviews, what the marketing showed, what the Facebook showed, what the Instagram showed, what people said, what got them in their car to drive to your garden center, what they thought was going to happen didn't happen. And here's the simplest element of this Zoom meeting is that what we need to focus on. It's fairly easy if you only focus on 4 things. If we're going to create a culture in which our customers can buy from us and buy a little more and a little more often, buy a little more, buy a little more often. If we could get that going, we would be surviving 2024 just fine and setting up for what will be a 5-year growth cycle in 2025, 26, 27, 28, 29. The next 5 years after next year look pretty exciting. I won't tell you what the 2030s look like, but it doesn't look good for now. So let's take advantage of what we have when we have it. And what they're asking for, customers these days, fairly simple, a perfect product delivered in a timely way by friendly, caring people who actually want to serve and help and not feel like I'm an interruption, but give me advice and education and knowledge so that I can be successful in gardening, because fear of killing things stops a lot of people from buying from us. And if it doesn't go right, which sometimes is the case, just fix it quickly. Just fix it quickly. So if you were to, in 2024, and setting up the culture of an experience that the customer can get, and you're wondering, what do I need to focus on in 2024? 1, to be successful, and 2, to set up for 2025. See what you need to do about making sure that the products that you carry are perfect, priced, dusted, pruned, nice. Because if I'm looking at 15 or 20 different plants that are all of the same variety, and 15 of them look sharp, awesome, and great, but there's 5 that are a little wonky, my brain thinks the 5 that are a little wonky might be the ones that are a little older, and those over there that look great and fresh end up like those maybe a week from now, and I might not choose to buy anything because I'm afraid that it's going to look like that. And so sometimes we put out B quality material because we need to move the inventory and get our turns going. And what happens, you realize that counterintuitively, it doesn't work. I take the 3 or 4 that don't look great and push them aside and make sure that everything that's there looks perfect, because now I might be inclined to buy 3 or 4 perfect plants instead of no plants, because the ones that are imperfect make me wonder what the heck's going on about a week from now. So perfect product. Delivered by caring, friendly people in a timely way. That would be you. Convenience is important. Lines that move quickly. E-commerce is an important part as well. Maybe I can conveniently buy online and then come to the store and pick it up. I know we stood those up during COVID, but now we don't have to, and you still should. The convenience economy still exists, and I think it'll be more relevant and germane every year than it is now. I wrote a 3,000-word essay about that in Lawn and Garden Retailer magazine back in May, talking about the convenience economy. So take a look at that. And if you're able to do this, if you could put these 4 game plans together to make yourself successful in 2024, 2025, 26, 27, 28 are going to be even better because of the steps that you're taking now by meeting their expectations. So that's setting the table of what customers expect: marketing, media, website, phone call answered appropriately, when they arrive, welcomed nicely. The place looks beautiful, laid out, easy to navigate. Staff seems inviting and smiling and welcoming and not treating me as if I'm an interruption, and focusing on the task of the day, where the task of the day should be helping the customers buy what they came in to look for, because their time is valuable. And if they spend 40 minutes to get to your place, I want to make sure that my investment of my time is a return on my investment by getting plant material, knowledge, or whatever it is that I come from you. So let's get into moving into the sales element of this session. Selling myths, meaning things that we believe typically are true, but may not actually be true. One of them, salespeople are born, not made. I don't believe that. The people that are best in selling are great listeners. They just are there to help. It's not pushy at all. It's learning about what the customer's needs are. Tell me your level of experience in gardening. I'm not that good at it. Great. So let me learn about your level of understanding. Let me speak to that. I'll meet you where you are. I'm not going to be a plant horticultural elitist and have you feel as if I know more than you. What customer wants to buy from somebody that makes them feel dumb and less than, right? So don't do that. Don't do that. Make them feel as if you're meeting them at their level. And folks that are good at that, empathetic, being able to connect with people emotionally and learn about their experience, their background. What was your biggest fear about gardening? What did you like the most about it? A couple probing questions just to get a sense of their knowledge, experience, and background can be very helpful in the process of having them buy from you, right? So that doesn't have to be a salesperson. That can actually be anybody. And you can learn these skills. You can learn these skills. Salespeople must be very social. As I stated again, some of the worst salespeople talk too much. God gave me 2 ears and 1 mouth, and I should use them in that ratio. I should listen more to what the customer's needs are and then give them instructive feedback that would help them be successful instead of telling them what they need to know and telling them what plants work. Nobody really likes to buy from folks like that. The third one is selling is all technique. And although there are many sales seminars that are out there, and I teach selling as well, the fact is that if a customer comes in and you pick up on the fact that they're in a busy rush and they're off to a home event that night at some get together that they want to bring a nice little gift for, you taking 20 minutes out of their day is not a wise investment. You don't have to put attraction and interest and desire and tell the story. It's like, what do you need? I need a quick gift under $50 that I could give to somebody that's having a birthday party this weekend for their mom. Great. So the birthday gift is for their mom? Yes. Under $50? Yes. What would it be? Flowers or plants? Plants. Great. Any type of plant that they're looking for? Something seasonal. Great. Seasonal plant for an older person that is available in let's go here. And then you show them 3 options and they're like, beautiful, I'm taking that one. And the fact that you were able to make that happen doesn't have to be selling technique. It's just meeting them where they are. I'm in a hurry. I need something quick. And here's the circumstances in which I'm buying it. And we have that happen often. Then there are others that do the opposite, that take forever to be able to, and you have to hold their hand and you got to walk them through. And they may not at that moment buy from you because they're just fact finding. They're learning about what they want to do. They need to process stuff first. And then what happens? A week later, they come in and search for you specifically. Hi, I'm looking for Sandy. Sandy's in the back. Hey, Sandy, I was here last week. You were kind enough to walk me around and take a fair amount of your time showing me what I should be considering. And I finally put a drawing together, and I'd like to buy these things that you suggested. And it's an $1,100 order. And you were like, wow, I thought they left and didn't buy, but they were actually thinking about buying. And then they came back and bought from you because you took the time. So it's not technique. And lastly, and I heard this from a person recently, I could sell ice cubes to Eskimos. I'm like, okay, cool. I could sell anything. And the answer is nope. Nope. You have to believe what you're selling. And that's the beauty of this industry. The beauty of this industry is each and every one of you, by far, are in belief of the power and the impact of plants to our communities, to our homes, and to our souls. So the belief system of plants as healing elements is really what drives the experience of our industry, which I'm very grateful and fortunate to be a very small part of. You guys do all the heavy lifting and all the work. So those are the myths that we want to do. And, I might not be good at being able to sell the information on IPM, integrated pest management, or the chemicals, but I should have a place where I can go to learn about it. Jessica was kind enough to be able to drop a seed about something that we've created at Boomerangle called Your Group Space. Your Group Space is an internet platform that houses all the things that you would ever need to be able to run your garden center effectively, efficiently, and operationally excellent. And inside there are training videos, of which Proven Winners has a lot of their training videos inside of our group space, Espoma, Fox Farms. So I may not be knowledgeable enough about the plant material that we carry because I'm on the B&B side or the trees and shrubs and perennials side, but I should learn more about annuals. So you should create this culture within your workplace of education and knowledge. How do we teach on a consistent basis our team so that not that they can sell anything, but they're at least able to understand all the things that we sell? So what I want to do is to walk you through how that process of learning how to present to a customer in a way that's appropriate for them to consider to buy from you. And again, I want to pull back on this selling piece. I'm not promoting selling. I've already agreed that they've driven 20 to 30 minutes and sometimes farther to be at your place. People aren't going to spend 30 minutes driving somewhere just to, for the most part, kick the tires. Most typically, people have already done research. They see the brands that you carry and they want to come in to be able to buy. Our job is just to be able to effectuate that, assist that, make that conversion occur, their time invested to be able to purchase. So one of these cool little memories that you could have is 54 fee, we call it 54 fee. It means that I'm really not going to talk about how much something is until I let you know a little more about what we do and what your needs are. So when somebody says, what do you carry and what's the price of that? The answer might be that price should be irrelevant at this point because this might not be the right plant for what you're looking for. If you don't mind me asking before we talk price, what are you looking to do? Where are you looking to put this? Have you been involved in gardening previously? And if you have, great, then let me help you find the right thing. But we want to make sure we get the right plant in the right place. And that plant may or may not be the right plant for where you would like to place it. So right plant, right place has a really good easy ring similar to 54 fee. If somebody was to ask, what is it is, do you come and work at the garden center and coach our team and do training and all that stuff? I'm like, well, I don't even know what your needs are. Have you done that before? What's the challenges that you currently have? Why would there be an interest in investing in somebody to come work with your garden center? Help me understand you first. And if there's a good fit, then we'll talk about that, but not until there seems to be a good fit first. So 54 feet, that's a good one. Landscapers, oftentimes we're very good at designing our particular installs, and we've got these beautiful designs that we do. And what we do is you show that to the customer. And we're like, here it is. Here's the design. I'm an artist. I'm a landscape architect. I'm a landscape designer. And here's what I feel would be the best way to go about your home. And the customer's like, yeah, I don't think that that's going to work for me. And all of a sudden, one, your heart breaks because it's kind of a shot at your ego that somebody is saying your baby's ugly, or that it's maybe not the right design that they're looking for. And that kind of hurts emotionally, right? But ultimately, you only gave one shot. You should always give three. There should always be three options for a customer to buy from, right? One is a good product. It works pretty well. What you're looking for, this is going to fit your needs at the lowest level, but it'll certainly handle the issue that you're challenged by. However, there's another item that does a little bit more. It's more of a global approach to what you're asking about. This is a little bit more expensive, but it lasts longer and it's got a lot more capabilities than the one that we just talked about. So this one's affordable. This one's a little bit more, but it has a value proposition beyond the smaller one. And then if you really want to think about it, here's one that could actually really do the best job possible. And this is one that can really make your needs met as well as you would need to be, and then some. So we offer these good, better, best opportunities for customers. And when customers have a choice, they usually choose oftentimes the better one. So if you're always pricing low, you're missing the opportunity for that next opportunity to buy in the higher price bracket. And they may not always buy the Cadillac. They may not always go up to the best fit. They may find themselves in the middle. And as the economy starts to contract, they may find themselves going into the good category, that I don't want to spend $75,000 on a landscape design, but I would like to be able to invest around $15,000 to $20,000 to have my view out the window look a lot better. And you're going to find that probably in 2024. 25, 26, 27, it'll pick back up again, but you should be aware that you should have options for customers. Customers without options choose none. And then the customers with too many options choose none. I've been in some of your garden centers. I've seen how many plants, material things. Here's 19 different ways to be deer resistant or deer proof. Here's 27 ways to kill plants and bugs. And all of a sudden they're like overwhelmed with the choice, this huge wall of chemicals that they're like, man, I don't even know where to start. And the staff is unaware of it as well. And now all of a sudden that opportunity to buy goes out the door because we don't have a knowledgeable staff and we have too many options. Reduce your options, educate your staff. Reduce your options. Educate your staff daily on something that they could learn new, and you'll find that your customers will buy more often. It's counterintuitive. Less things, that doesn't make sense. Actually, it does. Less plants that are perfect will sell through. More plants where some of them aren't perfect won't sell through. I talked about that earlier. Look for buying signs. When somebody's asking questions, well, what would it be if, or where would we put that, or what would the cost be, or how much time would it take to deliver that, or what's your schedule for an installation? Those types of questions are actually buying signs. Buying signs can be in question asking, it could be a nodding, it could be a looking at their spouse, their wife, or their husband, and they look at each other and kind of nod. That's a good one. That's like, oh, they just connected and they just made a yes. And that's a really great buying sign. So read people. You're good at reading plants. Plants, you can kind of figure out people aren't that much different. You know when a plant is maybe not doing well and you give it what it needs to make it better. Same thing with people. We show our signs of confusion or happiness or not sure, or frustration. Reading these micro expressions, oftentimes for those that are empathetic and intuitive and pick up on little small signs, the introspective, introverted folks are fairly good at picking up on those things. You're hearing a theme. The over-the-top folks might not always be the best salespeople. The quiet plant person is usually the best person to sell. There's the numbers game where out of all the customers that come to buy at the store, maybe not all of them buy, but they're making an effort to come to the store. So how do we convert that? We look at the conversion rate of a customer when they purchase. How many units do they purchase? Because your average transaction now is irrelevant. It's not that they're buying more. They're just paying more for what they buy from you. So I'm not a fan of tracking the average transaction anymore. With the clients that we work with, we focus on units per transaction. And if we could have the units per transaction, just one more item, that's a good way to be able to track successful selling, is by one more. So it's just a numbers game. Tracking your Google review, it's a number. Tracking the number reviews, it's a number. Tracking the number of customers, if you're able to, that came in that actually purchased. How about the customers when they come back? Your loyalty program, all those things, metrics, data, are all insightful to help you create a culture in which customers are taking an opportunity to buy from you. Under promise and over deliver is a great, easy way to be good, successful as a human. Hey, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Don't do it. You know what? Let me take a day or two to look into this. If you don't mind, I'll find some insight and I'll return a call to you by the end of the day tomorrow afternoon. So by 4:00 tomorrow afternoon, I'll have an answer. It's 9:00 in the morning on Thursday. I'm letting them know that I'll get back with them later tomorrow afternoon. And first thing in the morning, I'm calling. Hey, Mr. Smith, it's John Kennedy from the local garden center. I did some research. We've talked to some of our partners and vendors, and what you were looking for, we absolutely have access and availability. I wanted to let you know about that. And they're thinking, wow, I was thinking I would hear from you later today, and you're calling me earlier. That small example of experience sometimes make them say, could you put two aside for me? I'll come by this weekend and pick them up. Versus not calling them back at all or saying, I'll call you back first thing tomorrow. And then first thing tomorrow, there's a Christmas truck waiting to get unloaded and you got 900 trees that you got to unload. And you're like, crap. And then at 4:30 in the afternoon, you're calling the customer with the same answer, but you told them you called them in the morning and then you didn't call them until the afternoon. So those little things, small little ways in which we can improve our ability to create a culture where there's attitude, team engagement, a working sense of knowledge, a want to serve the needs of the customer, and finally, an opportunity for them to buy from us. Lastly, anybody that's involved in sales, don't just call the customer and say, hey, is there anything I can do for you? Or, hey, is there anything you need from me? Or, hey, do you need an order placed? Or that? That's kind of you looking out for you. And salespeople never look out for themselves. They look out for their customers. So if you have an article that you read or something that you feel is important, hey, Bob, I wanted to stop by on Thursday. I read something that I think is going to be really important for you to learn about. What time on Thursday might be a great chance to be able to talk? Hey, Kate, I'm noticing that maybe there's a chat or two, and I can pull up now with about 22 minutes left to see if there's any questions we have currently about what we've covered. And maybe inside of that chat, is there a question somebody might be having that I can help answer?
Hey, yeah, so good call. There are a couple of references to your article in Lawn and Garden Retailer, so that's awesome. There's also a reference to your group space. We don't have any questions yet, but just a reminder to folks, if you do have a question, please throw it in the chat, throw it in the Q&A. We'll find it either way. John, do you have any other resources that you want to throw out for folks to take a peek at?
I'll keep in my brain and I'll keep moving forward. Teresa, thank you. Jessica, thank you. I appreciate your making sure that the folks that are watching this or will be watching this later have the reference to the things that I'm talking about. There is a book that I'll reference in just a couple minutes about what we refer to as botna. But before I get there, I thought maybe we'll continue with the emotional connection that needs to take place in relationship to creating an opportunity to buy. Language like I feel that you're looking for something that's going to have an emotional connection to the gift that you're giving. Did I get that right? So the word feel oftentimes can be inserted into a sentence to allow this empathetic emotional connection to the customer. So it's not as much of a tactical sell, this is the tree, this is what you need. It's the, hey, you're planting a tree that is going to be a memorial tree for your grandfather that passed away this weekend. First, let me just let you know, I'm sorry to hear of your loss. And what we found are the trees that seem to do the best in our zone that other folks have found to be good as well are these 4 types of trees. So let me introduce you to these 4 types of trees that we have to consider relating to your emotional need of a memorial tree that's going to be placed in your backyard. But before I do, is there a lot of water around? Because that's going to have a play. Is there sun versus shade? Naturally, you're going to ask those questions, the zone and whatnot. Maybe the maintenance. Is it something that you want to care for, or is it something that you just want to be able to plant? So we ask those probing questions, but you just heard me when I was having that discussion, hypothetically, that I use those words. We feel, others have found, others have felt this was the choice that they made. I just gave a few choices, but I wanted to qualify first what they're looking for with what you just showed me. Yep, here are the 3 trees that might be best. One was probably a smaller tree that might be affordable in the $75 to $125 range. This is one that's a good start. Probably by about 10 years from now, this will be beautiful. But you may want to have a tree that's able to make a statement the moment you plant it. So if that's the case, we will look for maybe a larger tree. And here's a caliber of a 3-inch caliber, a little bit more expensive, but right away it's going to make a great statement. And one that you could even have a small little memorial plaque on it with their name and with their date of birth and their date of passing. And we could literally place that on the tree for you. So a larger tree caliper allows us to be able to place a nice little placket on there as a memorial tree for your loved one. Did I just make a connection with that customer? They're like, oh my God, I want that. I want to have a little placard that goes onto the tree. That's the memorial tree that's going in our backyard. That's going to be right away a statement that everybody can look at as a memorial tree. And they'll buy that one. And it might be that little placard, that little thing that you just mentioned to them becomes part of the tree purchase. We'll take care of that for you. We understand the importance of a memorial tree, and they're just important to have. It becomes part of your family. So let's take care of that. And that's an emotional purchase on a better process. Maybe that one was the best process. I'll leave it up to you. But that type of stuff, it makes the difference between a customer thinking about buying from you and actually buying from you. When you get their attention, that's important. And their attention should be the moment that they walk in the door. And then we ask what their interest is. What is it that you're looking for? What can I help you with? So that's the second step of this process of creating an opportunity to buy. And then the third is that they make a decision. They say, you know what, that sounds great. Let me go home and talk to my wife. And so although they made a decision, that doesn't mean that they're going to come back and purchase. And all of us have been disappointed with somebody that says, you know what, let me go home and I'm going to talk it over. Or, you know what, that sounds great. Can you pull these together into an order and have them staged for me? And I'll come by tomorrow and pick them up. And you're like, woohoo, it's a $700 sale. And you pull it all together and they never show up. And you're like, yeah, that's happened to us. It's because they had interest and they made a decision, but they didn't buy. 4 frogs sat on a log. One of them decided to jump in. How many frogs are left? 4. Just because the frog decided to jump in doesn't mean the frog actually jumped in. So it's the action that a customer takes. It's a manner in which you say, if we would like us to be able to pull these together, we would require a 50% deposit. That's for us to be able to pull the plant material, set them aside because they're not going to be sold to anyone else, and the labor that's attached to it. And then the balance would then be due when you come by tomorrow to pick them up. And now I've got them in an action step. I'm taking a deposit from them. I'm making them financially have skin in the game. That's how you handle creating an opportunity to buy that becomes actually a purchase. So I could give you a bunch of different examples, and there are reasons why people hesitate to buy. These are called objections. One is the stall. Let me think about it. I need to take some time, and that's okay. Sometimes it's a pricing issue, but it's not always. Sometimes let me think about this. I'm just planning for the fall. It's in the summer now. I'll come back in the fall. That's fine. It's not the right time to buy. Or sometimes it was just the wrong person. I need to check with somebody else to be able to make the decision. All of these, to some degree, are true. Okay. Sometimes the price pushback is really because I just don't want to tell you I don't want to buy from you. So pricing is the easiest way. It's a little more than I had as a budget. What that means is you did not a good job at the fit in order to make the fee appropriate. And what I always advocated, I talk about the sales corridor, if you will, right? That as you're walking this customer down this corridor, and at the end is the purchase, there are doors along the way that you got to shut. One of them is the stall. And the stall is, we're thinking about doing this a little bit later. And the answer may very well be that we have either scarcity or urgency. Scarcity. Well, there's about 5 of these left. So if you wanted to take some time to think about it, that's perfectly fine. But come next week, over the weekend, these may find their way to another owner or another home. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. It's not pushy. It's just letting them know that I would want them not to come back on Monday and go, hey, where are those 4 trees that I was talking about? They sold on Sunday. What? So scarcity oftentimes helps people make decisions. Urgency. Well, you're right, but the sale only is through this weekend. So if you want to be able to have the 30% off that you're here for, there would be an interest for you to make sure that you purchase them by Sunday. So today's Friday, you have until Sunday, but we do have only 5 of these, so they may find their way. And that's how you start to shut the door on the stall. If you're doing a good job on the fit part, the fee becomes less important, right? So the pricing door is, hey, you could probably find these cheaper somewhere else. I understand that, but our warranty is twice what others offer. So when you buy from big box stores and some of the other local competitors, they have a 1-year guarantee on perennials, trees, and shrubs. Ours is a 2-year guarantee. And if you purchase our Success Kit, which is the fertilizer that goes along with it, along with the root stimulator, if you buy our Success Kit, then that warranty doubles again to 4 years. So for a little bit of an investment of insurance, you could have a 4-year warranty on your plant material when others are only offering 1. And that's the way that I just closed the door on, hey, they could buy it cheaper elsewhere. Because quite frankly, I could buy a cheaper pizza, but then I'd have to eat it. So why would I want that, right? So the third objection is time. They just need some time to think about it. And I'm going to let that one go. There are people that are meditative. They just need to think a little bit more about decision making. I don't want to push them. Whenever you're ready, whenever the time is right, we'll be here. We've been here since 1962. We're not going anywhere. So whenever the time is right. My name is John. Feel free to come by and visit. I've been here over 10 years. I'm not going anywhere either. I look forward to having a chance to serve you when the time is appropriate for you. And those are the meditative people that oftentimes say, hey, you know what? Let me come back there a week later and purchase. So I wouldn't worry about that one too much. Oftentimes it's just that I talked to the wrong person. They needed to go talk to somebody else. And that too is out of your control. And the answer may very well be, as of overcoming that objection, is if you'd like, I'm happy to be able to do a quick little FaceTime if you'd like. When you get home tonight, here's my number. Just FaceTime me with your wife, and I can walk her around the garden center and show her what I showed you and have everybody see what we're talking about. Technology now has so much improved our ability to meet the needs of the customer. And a couple of you are wincing right now, like, oh my God, we had to do that during COVID. Please don't make us do that again. But the fact is that may very well be the difference between somebody thinking about buying and actually somebody buying. So making sure that the decision makers of a purchase in landscaping oftentimes is the case. So if you're having a landscaping meeting, you may ask, if it's possible, when I meet with you, could you bring and invite all the decision makers to the place so we can all have the same discussion and learn the same thing all at one time? Because landscape folks, you've gone to a house, you've spent 3 hours, and you find out at the end, well, my wife's out of town, wait till she gets back and I'll talk to her. And you're like, oh my gosh. So it's okay to sometimes ask, while I'm there, I would love to be able to educate everybody and answer all questions so that you have all the tools that you need to be successful. So those are reasons why we have the interest and the attention and the decision, but not the action. So moving down a little more, there are 3 reasons that people make purchases. 1, they're quality related, performance, if you will. 2nd, I need this in a fairly short period of time. And 3, I've got a certain budget left aside. So these are great probing questions. Is there a quality that you're looking for in the plant material that you are looking at? Is there a time frame that you're looking to have this either installed or purchased? Is there a budget that I should be aware of so I could lead you in the right direction and help you save time by making the best decision? So we refer to this as good, fast, and cheap, right? Here's a little insider baseball. Good, fast, and cheap, you should probably pick 2. Because if you want something really good, really fast, it might not be that cheap. Meaning if I want to send something overnight by FedEx, the performance level, it's great. Sending it overnight is probably going to cost me $40. But if time is not the biggest issue, then maybe I'll send it 3-day and spend $13 instead of $40. If I'm in an airport and I realize I didn't pack my belt and I've got shoes and not a belt to match my shoes, I'm probably not going to buy the perfect belt. I'm going to get a belt that matches my shoes as close as possible because time is the driver. I need a belt before I speak tomorrow. So performance might not be perfect. Budget might be a little more expensive because belts are expensive at an airport. So typically not only pick 2, but pick 1. And there's usually a driver, we call this, a reason why somebody is purchasing something. And we always assume it's price, and it's not. There are reasons of quality that they're looking for, that they demand, or a time frame and they're looking to be able to have it. So that example that I gave you earlier, that they just need a gift. They need to be able to bring it to an event that they're having for their mother's birthday. And I got about 15 minutes and $50. What do I got? 15 minutes and $50. Here are the 3 things that would make sense to you. And they would appreciate that you're able to grab something real quick, a nice floral arrangement, a nice fall arrangement that suits their budget, that gets them out the door, that gets them to their mom, and maybe the nice little emotional empathy at the end, if you don't mind. We always love seeing our plants in the places that are appropriate with our customers. If you're comfortable sharing a picture of your mom with the gift, we would love to be able to see how that turned out. Connecting emotionally, connecting with empathy, utilizing your emotional intelligence that many people in the plant industry have as introverts, as folks that are more caring toward plants than people. Leverage that. Connect with the customer. Make their decisions easier. Kate, you had asked me earlier, is there another book that we referenced? And the answer is yes. It's called Getting to Yes. Getting to Yes. 2 authors, last name Fisher is one of them. It escapes me who the other is. But Getting to Yes talks about BOTNA, meaning that, hey, the customer's asking for something that's specific. A very specific, proven winners branded, named product. Do you guys carry this? They may have called in advance. They may have gone onto your availability and seen it in inventory. And because your point of sale system doesn't update that currently with your website, they see that it's available and they come in and it's not available. That's a drag for a customer. I just spent 30 minutes coming here. My time is valuable. And what your website showed and what your inventory had are 2 different things. So we should be able to say, I understand what you're looking for. The best alternative to a negotiated agreement being the thing that I know that you want that currently isn't available. We have something similar that I'd like to introduce you to so that there's at least a win that could occur. And the win may very well be the substitute that's there. But oftentimes in a sales culture, the employees are so busy. Hey, do you guys carry this bubblegum, certain other proven win or something? No, we don't have that. And that's all they give is, no, we don't have that. You asked a question. I gave you an answer. What do you want from me, right? And that's where education fails. That's where training fails. That's where leadership fails. That's where an employee fails a customer by saying, no, I don't have what you need. And the customer goes and finds it somewhere else and has a better experience somewhere else and gets what they need from somewhere else and starts buying from somewhere else more often. The answer should always be yes. Teresa was kind enough to mention that article that I wrote in the Beyond the Brick and Mortar Convenience Economy, and I pushed that whole narrative. Always say yes. And yes may very well be, yes, I know what you're asking for. And yes, we carry something similar. Let me show you what that is. Or yes, I know what you're asking for. And what we carry that's similar is not of interest to you. Then let me help order that for you. And we have in the group space platform, a Garden on the Go app that we created. So garden centers are able to quickly on their phone, just create an opportunity to have the customer buy from you by filling in a small little app. Boom, there's the plant, there's the material, there's the cost, there's the delivery. Boom, I gotcha. And we'll go ahead and call you when the order comes in. Take care until then. I'll call you on Friday to let you know that it's in. That's that going the extra mile. Willoway Nurseries has that as one of their core values, going the extra mile. Willoway's is a proud grower of proven winners, proud friend of ours as well. Going the extra mile means saying yes and going a little step further. When do we do this? When it's really difficult and sales are low. You've been blessed for the last 3 or 4 years with a lot going on. It's going to change next year. You're going to have to work a little harder towards what you need in order to get to yes. So always have an alternative or two that your employees are aware of. That's why staff training, proven winners training, we have proven winners training inside group space. You can learn all the different plant materials that they carry so that when somebody says, yes, I know what you're asking for, and I know the two substitutes that are similar, let me show you. Employees feel empowered when they're knowledgeable to be able to answer the needs of the customer. But if they don't know because we haven't educated them, because our culture is not based in knowledge, or they don't know because they're just intellectually lazy and say no because it's easier to say no than to say yes, and I have to work, it might not be the right person to be in a retail garden center. So the best alternative to a negotiated agreement out of the book Getting the Yes directs you to be able to help the customers still stay in the game and still buy, even though what they were buying is not exactly what they came for, or go the extra mile and ensure that you give them what they need. So let's wrap up here. The 7 habits that successful salespeople carry. 1, attitude. We talked about that. 2, passion. We're passionate for plants. We should be the same when it comes to passionate for people. Confidence. I'm knowledgeable. I learn stuff. I know what brands we carry. I know the different departments. I know enough about herbicides and chemicals, and I know about perennials, trees, and shrubs, as well as annuals. I know enough to be able to help the customer. Knowledge and confidence go together. The more I know, the more confident I am. Just yesterday or the day before in Town and Country, we introduced the Town and Country folks to Group Space, and we showed them how they could learn about all the products that Town and Country carries in Idaho Falls. And the 2 newest employees both smiled and went, thank you. That's exactly what I need to know to be successful here. They need to have a place that they can go to find that. Certainly Proven Winners has that as well. All the certification programs that you can go through. Get your team engaged and plugged into learning about this brand. And then partner with us because we know Proven Winners brand pretty well as well. Tenacity means I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue to follow up on it. I don't just let no be a no. I'm going to follow up and see if I can follow up with that. That's that go the extra mile that we talked about. Discipline. It's just always the way that we do it. That's where a daily huddle comes into play. That's where we are focused on our numbers because it's always a numbers game, and congratulating the employees when they do it. We institute into the garden centers that we work with the great game of business, where each month they're focused on a particular item or plant or product that they carry. And if we are able to score successfully on this particular product, we all win. That keeps everybody engaged, competitive, learning about new stuff, and the whole culture changes. The whole shift of it changes. It's pretty cool. Cultural shift occurs. And then lastly, integrity. Don't tell them something that they don't need. Don't sell them a plant that doesn't make sense. Don't sell them a high maintenance plant that you convince them is low maintenance. Don't sell them something because we are long on it. We need to get rid of it because they might return that, and that experience is not good at all. So these are the success strategies or skills that successful salespeople have. My role today, in a brief, short accelerated session was to give you usable, realistic, helpful tools for you to be successful, setting up in 2024 through education, knowledge. Group space can be a great way to go about it. If you take your QR code phone, you can find out what Boomerangle's doing these days with group space. You can find that there. But we want to make sure that you have everything that you need to be successful. The economy is going to contract. It's going to be a little bit slower in 2024. You're going to have to work a little harder to get the same sales that you took maybe a little bit for granted and always happened because of COVID. You're going to have to train your staff up to be able to be better at this. But better at this is good. Empathetic people connecting to customers to serve them for what they need and help them solve the solutions and problems that they currently have through knowledge and grace and advice is how good companies become great companies. And if I can be of any assistance in that at all, I'd be honored to have a chance to be able to do that. John is AAA rated. There's a program for that. Awesome as always. Thank you. Great presentations. Whomever that is, DS. Dave Sulkin. Wow, Dave Sulkin. You out of our industry. Dave is from a different industry. That's so funny, Dave. He found me on LinkedIn and sat in on a proven winner session. So good for you, Dave Sulkin. Thanks for the compliment. Jessica, I turn this back over to you.
Sure.
Help you in anything that could be finishing up here right at the top of the hour, as I promised I would.
Sure. Yeah. The couple quick questions for you, John, and this was fantastic. I think it's totally pertinent to, as we look forward to 2024, how do we set ourselves up and our teams up for success? So in thinking about that, how, as an owner or a garden center manager, how do you get your staff to buy into this or get on board with this whole process, right? Because it is a mindset. It's a shift in how they're accustomed to doing business.
Mm-hmm. So it always starts at the top. So if the top doesn't really buy into it, then the bottom won't. So it has to be started and driven from the top to believe the fact that we need to create a culture and explain why it's important. The clients that I'm now working with, we're explaining about 2024 being a bit of a contraction. The why of focusing more on sales is because we're not going to take for granted what we probably did for the last couple of years. We need to let them know that knowledge is an important piece. Education. The younger generation of folks coming into this industry oftentimes aren't from this industry. They're not hort people. They just know that plants make them feel good. And they want to learn more about it. They are sponges. They want to learn every day, something new. So if we don't have a culture of education and knowledge, you're probably going to lose good people that would have stayed had they been given the chance to be able to learn. So I find education now, more than ever before, to be the magical piece of buy-in and engagement. It used to be pay them a little more or we have popcorn on Saturdays. The best buy-in that I've noticed in this industry over the last 3 years has been through career paths in the industry, pardon me, knowledge and education. Train them, product knowledge each week. Kirby's, Dave, the fine folks at Kirby's down in Tampa, they have product knowledge every Tuesday. Here's what we're learning. Here's a product. So every chance you can to pour education, knowledge, and experience into your employees, the better engagement, the better way they're helping their customers, and the better sales will occur because of that. Hopefully that was a good enough answer for you.
That was a great answer. I'll give you one more and then we'll wrap it up. I know we're just a minute or two after the top of the hour. So Vance was asking, any thoughts about sharks in business?
Vance is throwing that out there because he wants to put a little curveball. Vance is a friend of mine from the Ferguson world. We created a culture called Sharks: success habits, accountability, respect, knowledge. So to your point, hi Vance, nice to have you on. Sharks really is an example of building a culture of sales. We did this with his business where he was, and sales went through the roof. We created a culture of engagement through Sharks and values, and the outcome was nothing shy of excellence. Vance led the way in the entire enterprise of a $22 billion company. His was the largest and best region to work in based on Sharks, culture, values, and knowledge. Hi, Vance. Nice to see you. It seems that everybody from outside the industry is now stalking me. You should call me.
That's great. Well, John, this has been a fantastic day, as always, with you. For those of you that are joining us, John will be coming back. We have a winter webinar series that we host after the first of the year. So John will be coming back and sharing some more information. He also has a bunch of information about what he does on the screen. If you're not plugged into what John is doing, what opportunities there are to partner with him, certainly I would encourage you to do that. And more than anything, just want to say thank you. We appreciate the partnership, the support, and the trust that each of you place in the Proven Winners brand. And we're so looking forward to 2024. So with that, thank you very much. John is actually popping up your group space right now.
There was a note that Kathy said it doesn't list. So I wanted to make sure that the link was there. So www.yourgroupspace.com. You have to put the www in front of there. If you just go to your group space, you're right. It doesn't bring you to where it is. So that's the answer, Kathy. And this is what we offer as a portal for everybody to learn better about how to be a successful garden center. So we're happy to help. Jessica, Kate, and everybody, thank you for your time. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving. We're much to be grateful for in this industry. And have a wonderful Christmas season and a new year ahead in 2024. God bless.
Thanks all.